See, you said Americans need to, quote, kill and confront the extremist movement within the GOP. In the past, you've condemned Donald Trump's rhetoric as having the possibility to incite violence. Is that similar language that you once condemned?
Movement. Kill and confront the extremist movement, of which J.D. Vance, unfortunately, is a part of. Right? Who says that the President of the United States is intentionally trying to kill people with fentanyl? Who says that the election was stolen? J.D. Vance does. Who runs around with Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who wants to ban books? You're running around with Lindsey Graham, who wants a national abortion ban. You're running around with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's the absolute looniest politician in America. This is a dangerous group, and we do need to confront it, and that's why I'm running to represent the exhausted majority, Democrats, Republicans, and independents,
candidates
against the extremists.
We are going to turn now to foreign policy. Last week, President Biden made the shocking claim that we are on the verge of Armageddon. The reason being Vladimir Putin's threat to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. So this question is for both of you. If that were to happen, if Putin were to use nuclear weapons, how should the United States respond? And we begin with you, Congressman Ryan.
Well, it would have to be an aggressive response. I don't think we're at that point where Vladimir Putin will. I hope he doesn't. We should be prepared for all contingencies should he do that, and it should be a swift and significant response. We cannot have a butcher like Vladimir Putin rolling into Ukraine. What he's done there is an absolute atrocity. And the fact that he's killed innocent people, innocent women, innocent girls is so heartbreaking. And the fact that guys like J.D. Vance have said, I don't care what's going on in Ukraine. I will tell you, I've been to Parma, I've been to Cleveland, I've met with the refugees. You know who I meet with? The women and the daughters and sons, because the husbands are in Ukraine fighting. That's the kind of freedom we need to support. And J.D. Vance would let Putin roll right through Ukraine. And I'm just telling you that we got to have a strong military, and we've got to make sure that we can push back people like Vladimir Putin if they try to invade a freedom-loving country. And J.D. Vance is weak on this.
Same question to you then,
Sure.
Mr. Vance. How should we respond if Vladimir Putin uses nuclear weapons in Ukraine?
So the answer is that nobody knows how we should respond if he uses nuclear weapons. Now, let me just address this. What Vladimir Putin did was disgusting and wrong, and we all have to admire what the Ukrainians have done as they've repelled this invasion. But let's just take stock of something that Tim Ryan said. And Tim, I don't think that you meant anything by it, but I want to hone in on this because it reflects the failure of the bipartisan foreign policy establishment in our country. The same people who got us into Iraq and the same people who got us into Afghanistan for 20 years. He said that if Vladimir Putin uses nuclear weapons, we should have a strong response. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean we're in a nuclear shooting war? I have 3 kids, and I'm running to be the United States Senator for the state of Ohio. I want to protect those children, and I want a foreign policy establishment that puts the interests of our citizens first. What everybody has been doing, and I've been at the very forefront of this, saying we need to de-escalate the situation. Vladimir Putin launching nuclear weapons against Ukraine is something we have to do everything possible to prevent. And right now, everybody in the Biden administration at least, seems to be sleepwalking into a nuclear war. That is the worst possible thing that could happen. We have to do everything to prevent it.
I think this is just quickly, because this is an important point here. If J.D. had his way, Putin would be through Ukraine at this point. He'd be going into Poland. If he's using nuclear weapons, what do you want us to do? I mean, you can't just send hopes and prayers.
If I had my way, you'd put money at the southern border, Tim, instead of launching tons of money into Ukraine.
Thank you, candidates. We want to continue on foreign policy here, and we want to move to another part of the globe. President Biden also recently made headlines saying he would use American military force to defend Taiwan if China were to attack. The question, again, goes to both of you. Should America defend Taiwan? Congressman Ryan, we start with you.
I believe that we should. I believe that we should. This is, we have a commitment. Again, we do not want to be at war with China. We need to outcompete them economically. We need to make sure that we invest into the United States and outcompete them. But we do have commitments. And that's why I have always supported strong investments into our defense, including President Trump's defense budget, President Trump's initiative with the Space Force. We've got to continue to invest into our Navy. Love to get the ship repairs done here in Lorain, Ohio, and in Lordstown, Ohio, where we're talking about making sure we can take our ships out. The problem now, we take a ship out of the water, it's got 4 years before we can fix it and rebuild it. So we have these commitments, but we've got to have a strong military. We've got to have a strong defense, because you never know what circumstance we're going to be in. And I will tell you that China is no joke. They are investing heavily into their military, and you can't see it all.
Thank you, Congressman. Mr. Vance, same question. Should the United States militarily defend Taiwan if they're attacked by China?
Yeah, so Taiwan's a much different situation from Russia and Ukraine because of how important it is to American national security. Now, the policy of this country, bipartisan, by the way, over 40 years, was strategic ambiguity. The idea is that we wouldn't commit to doing one thing or the other, but everybody recognized that we would try to do something. Maybe not send military troops in a ground war, but we would do something to try to defend Taiwan. The thing we need to do is get ourselves in a position where we don't have to rely on the Chinese and the Taiwanese in the first place. The reason why Taiwan is different is because they make so many of our semiconductors, our computer chips. The entire modern economy would collapse without it. We got to bring that stuff back to this country. Rob Portman, Tim mentioned earlier, senator, of course, of our state, a guy who endorsed me and was critical in getting the CHIPS bill passed. That's the sort of policy you need to break our reliance on China. It's a great piece of legislation. We just got to go much further so we don't have to defend island countries if it's not in our core national interest.
Gentlemen, we're going to switch topics once again, and our next topic is LGBTQ plus rights.
I'm feeling good, 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 good. I'm feeling good, good. Yeah, yeah. 爱你没睡，爱我相信，爱你的头颅被我看透，但我只想和你追。爱今天约会，爱看见你腿，爱不是我太肮脏，是这画面太美。